Hey everyone, so this is my first live stream on YouTube in ever, and I have so much to say about Kevin Samuels, what it was like to be around him, the person that he was, as well as our interview. And it's taking me honestly over a year to decide whether or not I wanted to speak about Kevin because when our initial interview aired, there was so much backlash that I received, and it was really painful to look at the comments, to see all these strangers criticizing me and telling me I wasn't Jamaican or I wasn't all of these attributes. And because of that, I kind of shied away from speaking about the Kevin Samuels interview, and also had a lot of angst surrounding the issue. But I said to myself, this is something that a lot of people ask me about, and a lot of people want to know, what was Kevin Samuels like? What was it like for me to meet him? And I'm like, you know what? Let me just set the record straight for once and for all of those details. So, for those of you that know me and those of you that know, my name is Jessica Wong, aka Jessie Wong on Instagram, Jessie Wong on YouTube, that we are on right now. I've been doing social media for 7 years or so, and I started a swimsuit line back in 2018. Kevin contacted me, and he was starting a segment about women who weren't married, that had businesses that he deemed attractive, and was kind of trying to understand why it is that we weren't married. Now, initially, I was like, should I do this? Should I not? Of course, this is Kevin Samuels. I had seen some of his content previously, and I had seen him kind of get frustrated with some women sometimes when they spoke to him about certain things. And I was like, you know what? I can speak to anyone. I'm going to do this. I was nervous as hell, though, I'm not going to lie. And then we decided on a date. He didn't give me too much information about what we were going to speak about, because he was kind of like, I want to leave the bulk of the conversation to be candid and fluid. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to ask about your relationship status. I'm going to ask about why you're not married, what your dating has been like in your life. I was like, okay. So the day that I met him, it was a night in Miami. He was staying downtown. I went down there and I met him in the lobby. We did not hug. We did not shake hands. He was extremely formal. He was kind of like, hey, all right, hi, how are you? Let's go get to work. I was like, okay, keeping it formal, keeping it. There's no creepy energy. Everything is fine. And then after that, we went up the elevator. He had a really nice suite, had a lot of views of Miami and such, and he had all of the camera equipment facing these couches. And I'm like, okay, this is the set. And one thing that stood out for me was just how organized he was. And as a social media creator myself, I've been around other creators, and I'm telling you, this man had all of the equipment. He had it perfectly set up. I'm like, is there a camera crew here? Because he just had everything so nice. It was like a laptop, two cameras, microphones, like everything was really perfect and ready to go. And then before we started, he asked me if I wanted a Red Bull. I said no. but I should have said yes. My energy is naturally pretty low and very chill. And him and I were on a very similar frequency where he was very chill, he was very relaxed, and he took a Red Bull and it's like he was up, he was excited, he was like ready to go, and I was still in a very kind of lax space. So once the interview started, I was like, oh shit. I think I should have had a Red Bull or a coffee or something to kind of get me ready for this. So if you have or haven't seen the interview, I think we spoke for about 2 hours, and then he ended up cutting it up into 3 or 4 video segments. But that time flew by. That time flew by. I will be honest to say that during our interview, I felt that there was a lot more that I could have said, but he did cut me off a few times, and I was getting frustrated because of that. And I was poised. I held my composure, but at the same time, I was getting frustrated because there was a lot of questions that have a more long-winded answer, but I wasn't able to get my entire thought out. And because of that, I felt like I didn't do myself justice in terms of my responses and my reasoning and my own statistics and my own experiences. And also with Kevin, he was, excuse me, so great with his stats and his diction and his ideologies that he was able to just get it out quickly. You know, men are X, Y, and Z, and women are X, Y, and Z, and black men this. And he was able to really get his point out really fast, whereas I'm like, hold up, I need a little bit of time to thoroughly get my thoughts out. You know what I mean? And then there were a few questions about, you know, I was raised with a single mother, and he also was raised with a single mother. I was an only child. I am an only child. He also was an only child. So there were a lot of things that we had in common, but we had completely different ideologies on dating, on men and women, and how they should relate together in a couple. I'm not going to get into that right now. If you want to go watch the video, you can. But I will say that if you haven't watched a lot of Kevin's content, there's a lot to see. There's a lot to learn. He has so much educational portions, especially for men and what they should do, and women and what they should do. But there's a lot of it I don't agree with. But I'll say that I believe that his heart was in the right place. I believe that he wanted to unite, especially black couples in marriage. I believe he even made a joke to me saying that he was going to get me married. He was like, I'm going to get you married. I've done it before. I know people who you would get along with. I'm going to get you married. And another thing that really stuck out to me and pissed me off, I'll be honest, was he made a statement about, he has this philosophy that when a woman turns 30, her value drops 50%. And at the time we did the interview, I was 29. And I remember saying, like, wow, so my value's gonna drop in a few months according to you. And he's like, yes, I believe that. And so statements of that nature, again, I did not agree with. Even once the footage went live, I got a lot of backlash from some of my followers saying, why would you even want to talk to him? Knowing what he stands for, knowing what he's about, why would you want to talk to him? And I was like, you know, I like to debate. I don't believe we're all going to have the same ideologies. I don't believe we're all going to think the same things. But I'm going to debate. I'm going to try my best to articulate my thoughts and my opinions. Did I do that? Somewhat. And I had a lot of anger and frustration, as I stated before, about that. And I carried it with me for many months after I saw the comments, after it aired. Right now, I don't feel that way anymore. Of course, rest in peace to Kevin. I just feel like next time around, I'm going to have my stats written down. I'm going to memorize them. I'm going to get to my points a lot faster so that there isn't as much speculation about what my points were to begin with. Another thing about Kevin, he was just he was so respectful. He was so respectful and poised and very polished. I really appreciated that, especially because we didn't have any kind of relationship before the interview, but he was just very respectful. He had a very polished way about him that made it comfortable to be around him. And he would make his little jokes here and there. Like when we first met, he said something along the lines of, "Oh, you're tall." He's like, "You're too tall for me. I like short women." And I'm like, okay. But his personality had humor, you know, he had jest. He had that way about him where he's gonna crack a joke here and there, and it's not going to be rude. He's not always serious, like always super serious. And I really appreciated that. And he had so many plans about what he was going to do. He was on the brink of taking off. When I tell you, he was telling me about the series he was going to do. I'm pretty sure he was going to get on live TV, national TV. There was a lot of other women that he was going to have interviews with. He wanted to do like panels, and I was really inspired to be around someone like that and to see that content creating can reach such a broad audience, that it doesn't have to just be photos and a little video here and there. Like, he was a machine. He was so consistent. After our interview, we actually got a bite to eat, and once the clock was like 9:30 or 10 p.m., he was like, "I gotta go." And he went live for another hour. I'm like, damn, this man and we just did a whole 2-hour talking special. He goes to eat and he goes back to being live on Instagram. I'm like, I want to be like you when I grow up. Because I am nowhere as consistent as him, but he was just on such a mission that he wasn't going to slow down for anyone or anything. And you know, after he passed away, after I got the news, honestly, I was like, this can't be real. Like, this has to be some kind of joke. This has to be some kind of prank. Like, I just saw him. It was, I think we did the interview in August or so. It was maybe a month, if that, and he had passed away. Maybe a few months, and he passed away. And it was just so sudden, you know. He was he seemed to be so healthy. He was in good shape. Um, I know he said I think he said he had cancer at some point that he beat. But when I heard the news, I was very distraught. Even though we didn't see eye to eye on pretty much anything, I would never wish death upon someone. And when I saw all the comments online about people being happy that he had passed and people being in a celebratory state, I was very disgusted by it and very put off by that. I know he said controversial things. I know a lot of women would disagree, and men too, disagree with some of his statements, but to wish death upon someone just seems so disgusting. Like it was really disgusting. But all in all, I get asked about him all the time. As I said, I get asked about interview. I get asked about how did I feel about him, and I didn't want to do any content that seems angry or like I had any frustrations. Initially, even before he passed away, I was debating whether or not I should have did like a response, because when I tell you the comments I got for our video were so painful. It was like tens and thousands of people telling me that I was fat and I wasn't Jamaican. I was never gonna be married and nobody would ever want to marry me and all these things that I just felt, I felt so angry. I'm not gonna lie, I felt very angry. I felt very wronged. I felt like, how can people be this cruel? How can people be this judgmental and they don't even know me? And I did speak to him about it because I was hesitant to do any more content with him. He did ask me if I wanted to do more videos because so many of his followers watched our content and they resonated with it, and there was so much debates and controversy, but I shied away from it. I said at the time I was not trying to do any more content because I couldn't stomach going through that again. So I decided not to participate with anything else. And looking back, I don't have any regrets. I can just say that was where I was mentally at that time. And that's just my honest truth. He did tell me about his daughter and how his daughter thought his content was hilarious. And I was happy to see that he was a family person, and that even though he was so into his content, he still spoke so highly of his daughter and his family and everything else. But for any of you guys watching my live right now, if you have any questions, please ask them. I know I just been talking, but if there's any questions that you have about Kevin, or if you've seen the interview, if you haven't seen it, it's under, I believe, Why Am I Not Married? Something along those lines. And for any of you that maybe don't want to watch it, I'll just tell you a little bit of what I said. A little bit of what I said was along the lines that it's not that I don't want to be married, it's just that marriage in itself is not my highest priority right now. And as a business owner, as a woman who has so many great ideas and so many things I want to accomplish. I believe that marriage to me is not a milestone. It's more so of a, how do I explain it? It's not a milestone. Marriage to me is more, it's a relationship. So it's something that if it happens, I'll be happy with, but if it doesn't, I would also be fine. I never grew up seeing marriage as something that I should aspire to have. I think every girl, for the most part, grew up wanting to have a beautiful wedding, but I take marriage so seriously because I understand that the person you marry makes up 90% of your happiness. So I am going to vet that person and look at them inside and out before I decide whether or not I want to spend and commit my entire life to them. So that is a piece of what I said. If you want to watch it, feel free. If you want to look at them comments, ooh, child, they ugly. They are quite ugly. But if you want to look, be my guest, you can look. But they ugly. Anything else I want to tell you guys? I just have to also say that I am very appreciative that I had the opportunity to do that content with Kevin. I am very, very appreciative, very grateful that I was one of the last people that he did any kind of content with. Had I postponed it or been nervous or been, wanting to push it back in any way, it would have never happened. And sometimes in life, we just don't know when our last day is going to be. And I've spoken about this many times with friends and even my mom, and I was like, someone like him who was in the social media podcasting realm for so many years. I think he was doing it for 8 years, and his content was taking off last year, like exponentially, and then he passes away. So sometimes life isn't fair. Life doesn't say, oh, you're doing great. Okay, I'm gonna give you another 30 years to enjoy your hard work. I do think he was someone that was passionate about his work. I do think he took it seriously. I do think he enjoyed it. I do think he had a mission and he was so committed to that mission, and that propelled him. And if you watched his content, you saw his passion, you saw his mission statement. So I hope that personally I can find that own level of passion and commitment to stay the course. Social media can be a little tricky sometimes, but it was very inspiring for me to be around someone like that. So thanks for watching my live. Again, do you guys have any questions or comments about Kevin or our interview? Please let me know. Feel free to comment below your thoughts and opinions. If you want to argue about relationships and dating in 2023, feel free to do that as well. And thanks for tuning into my live.